expected a lot from me, and I really appreciate that and respect that. And so when I started working in the company, he didn't say, "Oh, he's my son, I'm putting him up on the altar, and he doesn't have to work very hard. You guys leave him alone." That wasn't Rex. He said, "Boy, you're starting at the bottom. Get out in the warehouse, get the mop in your hand, and that's where you're going to start learning this company." And that's what I did. When I was in high school, I worked in the warehouse that we had. I learned how to drive a forklift and how to put the product up, in the pallets way up in the shelves. And I did the mail. I remember back then we used to do checks. We'd send checks to people, and we'd stuff them in envelopes and run them through the mail machine. And I do that every month, right before the 15th, and so we could get them out in the mail. So I learned from the bottom up. From there, I went into the data processing department, where back then again, we entered all the orders in the computer, all the application forms of people signing up as FBOs, and I entered all that information in the computer. And back then I knew all the numbers, the distributor ID numbers of every leader in the U.S. It was incredible. You say Elvira Ruiz, and I could tell you her ID number. I don't know it now, but anyway, I really got to start learning the marketing plan through that. I got to help process the bonuses. Back then we did manual bonus corrections. The computer couldn't do it, so we had to learn the marketing plan well enough to know, okay, if someone returned product, we got to deduct the bonus from here and take the case credits from there, pass it back up line. We did it all on paper. It was pretty amazing, actually. And I really got to know the company policies and the marketing plan by doing that. And then from there, I went into the accounting department, and I worked several years in accounting and watched the cash flow and the budgets and the expenses and how we register everything. And it was very eye-opening. And in fact, at one point I thought, maybe I want to get my accounting degree. And then I went and took an accounting class, and I said, no, that's not for me. I don't want to be an accountant. But to know that information is really important. I mean, now that I'm running the whole entire business, I need to know the numbers, and that gave me a real good basis back then of what that was. So I really appreciate that. And then from there, Rex said, hey, it's time for you to do the most important part of this business. You've learned all this other stuff, but that stuff doesn't matter if we don't sell products. So you got to get out there and sell products. And that's what I did. I went and I was in charge of the southeastern part of the United States, and I would travel down there. I went to Miami and Orlando. Back then we did a lot of business in Puerto Rico, and I was lucky enough to know Spanish, so I got to go down and speak Spanish and do trainings in Spanish and work with the Puerto Ricans and all the Mexican distributors along the southern border in the U.S., and that was some great times. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. Do you know who Garen Breinhold is?
Yes.
Yeah? He's probably here not too long ago, I think. Well, Garen and I were friends before he became a staff member in Forever. That's how Garen knew about Forever. We were friends, and honest to God truth, Garen started as an FBO because I asked him to join the business, and I sold him a combo pack. I love that story because that's how Garen started. He bought a combo pack from me. Back then we had the ATP. Do you remember that? The authorization to purchase. I fill that out for him. And so anyway, during this time I was trying to teach Garen how to do the business, and one of my trips was to El Paso, Texas. It's right on the border of Mexico. I said, Garen, come with me. I got to go do a meeting down there. So we went to El Paso, and I ran a bunch of flyers, papers, flyers that said, come to a meeting, a business opportunity meeting, and it was right across the border in Juarez, Mexico. Now, Juarez nowadays is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. But back then it was pretty safe. So we went on the bridge between US and Mexico, and lots of people walking back and forth, and we handed out these flyers, maybe 1,000 flyers. And that night we held a meeting in Juarez, so we drove across the border. You can't do this anymore. That was back in the old days. Drove across the border with a bunch of combo packs in the trunk. And yes, we got the lucky one. And the guy says, pull over. I'm like, oh crap. Opens up the trunk. What is all this? Oh, no, it's just samples. We just got samples. And anyway, it was kind of funny. So we went to the meeting, and we had about 100 people show up.
Wow.
And I did the whole meeting in Spanish and got everybody excited. And then at the end of the meeting, they all came up to me. Oh, we want to sign up. We got a question. Come on. And I couldn't handle it. It was too much. I'm like, Garen, talk to that guy. Garen, talk to that person over there. And he didn't even know what he was saying. Talk about baptism by fire. But, you know, those experiences are so valuable to me, to Garen, because they really taught us from the ground up what you guys go through. I have a lot of empathy of what you guys go through on a daily basis because I did it myself and I understand. And it helps me try to, you know, solve problems for you guys. And so, you know, I really relate to what you guys go through every day through those experiences.